brought an entire crew of people along, and his giant cameras nearly destroyed my rows of poppies and dahlias. I heard about the little murders that took place in my lawns. Saplings mangled by cables, sunflowers beheaded by careless hands trying to arrange the equipment, as I sat in front of my dressing table, getting my hair done. But you haven't brought any equipment, my dear. My dear girl, how are you going to interview me?
Amrit, Madam Prime Minister, Madam late Prime Minister, my name is Amrit. And this device here, my smartphone, will perform all the functions of notebooks and gigantic cameras and tape recorders. Also, it's a compact device, as you can see, so it will cause no damage to your trees in your lawns. But tell me, how have you spent your time for the 32 years that you have been dead?
Well, dear Amrit, I haven't given any interviews since my assassination, and nor have I spoken with the press that visits this bungalow every now and then to take photographs of my living room, my study, my bedroom, my personal belongings, the orange sari I'm wearing today, another sari that lies folded on a stool in my bedroom, the conch and rosary in my prayer room, my medals, photographs of my children and grandchildren, the black telephone in my study. All these are now called artifacts and are there for all to see. My home is a museum. And the private moments I spent in it are now on display for throngs of tourists and school children. You know, sometimes I turn into a long shadow that jumps across the walls of this museum and rolls on the grass outside, hoping that a tourist will follow me to the spot where I fell and let me narrate the facts of my death instead of listening to a feeble voice inside what the crowd refers to as headphones. I stole a bear once in the guise of a rhesus monkey. I bared my teeth at a young boy in school uniform and he dropped his headphones, which I grabbed and put on my head. The voice inside was scratchy and dull. Its story a monotonous drone of historical events in chronological order. Sometimes I hang upside down for days of long rallies and longer election discourses, and I make speeches to the lemurs and lilies and swallowtails butterflies here. My republic has been reduced to a crowd of jamun, jackfruit, neem, oak, alstonia, and a banyan tree. But you who have walked into my republic with your smartphone and many questions have wiped out 32 years of silence. Do you know that I rushed the winds to meet you? Did you feel a sudden gust as you entered the pillared doorway? I stopped a peacock in mid-dance and instructed the bird to fly me here to you because it will amuse me to talk to your smartphone. I observed you speaking to it from a branch on the old banyan where I was picking berries to garnish a meal of dead sparrows and bat droppings.
The smartphone is recording you as you speak, Madam late Prime Minister. Before we walk to the banyan tree in the lawns, let us walk around your home, this memorial. Let us dwell on a few of the exhibits. For instance, the orange handspun sari with its black border, the one you're wearing today. It has been preserved here for all these years, for generations to stare at your bloodstains, to take photographs of the holes made on the fabric by the bullets you received. Your black sandals lie with it, together with the red cloth bag with its woven pattern that you carried on that day. What were your final thoughts before the bullets pierced your sari?
My final thoughts? Well, you know, I had several thoughts that day. I was so preoccupied as I walked down my garden path, and obviously I didn't know they would be my final thoughts. There was a dinner party I was hosting later that evening for a visiting princess. As you probably know, and if you don't, the placard outside my dining room will inform you, I prepared for luncheons and dinners with the same attentiveness with which I prepared for election rallies, speeches in parliament, special operations, and coups. The silverware had to be polished so that it reflected the face of the dignitary, official or friend, or even troublesome faction while holding a dessert spoon or speaking across a candle stand. The crockery had to have the most delicately expressive patterns, and the napkins, those had to be folded with a symmetry matched only by the contours of the Taj Mahal. I was very pleased with my hair that day. It calmed me to feel that my hair looked good. Even though arrangements for the dinner were still underway and I was worried that we might not be prepared to receive the princess on time. Also, I was tired. I had returned from the pre-election rally the previous night. The goodwill ambassador had flown with me. He wanted to hear me address the farmers, small traders and their wives who had walked miles from their villages to listen to me speak. But I was tired. I'm sure the goodwill ambassador was tired too. I was keen to wrap up that interview and perhaps take a nap before getting involved with the preparations for the night, but the day ended abruptly, as we all know. My bodyguards sprayed me with bullets, as we all know. One shot at me with a .38 service revolver, while the other used a Sten gun. These are the facts. They've been documented innumerable times, and I hope your generation, with its equipment-free methods of interviewing heads of state, even dead ones, is not ignorant of the details of my assassination. No, there is no need to smile sheepishly. I am sure your smartphone is doing a competent job of recording me. As I was saying, my bodyguards shot me on the garden path that links this residence to my office, and I will take you there. It was my favorite path. It was fringed with a putranjiva hedge, and bamboo stalks formed this beautiful, tender canopy over me as I walked towards the banyan tree where the goodwill ambassador was waiting with his camera crew. The elephant barn stood in semicircles, and in the lawns beyond, I could see and smell the fleshy white blooms of the marga trees. A row of Ashoka trees that had recently been pruned caught my attention. My face hit the gravel path. That the Ashoka has many, many names. In Sanskrit, it is called the Angam tree. Ashopala, Asupala. Ashoka means sorrowless. Sorrowless. Those, Miss Amrit, were my last thoughts before the lawns grew dark.
Interesting, Madam late Prime Minister, that in your final moments you were preoccupied with the etymology of the word Ashoka. You loved words, didn't you? And books. Which were your favorite?
Which were my favorite words or books? You really should be more specific, Miss Amrit. But I'll spare you the trouble of rephrasing your question, and I'll speak of both. There were words like Popo Catapetal that I loved. Popo Catapetal. Words like Chimburazo fascinated me. I was interested in philology. I still am, if you're willing to believe the dead, in pursue linguistics. And the sound and texture of certain words. Among the many books in my study here are titles like 1001 Ways to Improve Your Conversation and Speech, a most helpful guide, and the Faber Book of Aphorisms. There are books on history and politics displayed here. See that leather-bound and gold-embossed stories from French history? It stands right next to the French Revolution, a history in 3 volumes. Pompous volumes, I dare say. And appropriate as exhibits here, but not my favorite. There were also books that were gifted to me by my American friend Dorothy, her own The Heroic Encounter, and William Irwin Thompson's At the Edge of History, which was incomprehensible in parts, I have to admit. But I did find solace in Tagore and strength in Karl Marx. Dylan Thomas's radio drama Under Milkwood saw me through the early years of leading my political party, when I was prone to frequent bouts of fainting. I just thought I'd mention it, even though it's not a book. And I was enthralled, I must confess, by a book called The Third Eye. Have you heard of it? It was written by one Tuesday Lobsang Rampa, who was actually an English plumber who claimed that he'd been possessed by a Tibetan Lama. Does the occult interest you, Miss Amrit? The afterlife.
Not really, Madam late Prime Minister. I have very little knowledge of such things. And for the purpose of our readers, some of whom were born in the decades after you were assassinated, I request you to focus on the more earthly details of the exhibits here. Which of them were you particularly attached to or held a special significance in your life?
You really should have come with a more interesting and comprehensive set of questions, Miss Amrit, rather than repeating the same old, which is your favourite this, and which is your favourite that. But let me indulge you, for who knows how many decades will go by, or even centuries, before another journalist arrives here seeking me. My childhood, my marriage, the tumult of my political career, all of it is here, in these objects of daily use, in these rooms, in these lawns. These displays are relics of love, of family, of friends from all over the world. Look at this. It is a framed photograph of Rabindranath Tagore and a handwritten, where the mind is without fear. I kept this in my study. Here is a wood box with carvings as delicate as lace, which my husband made for me. We met when I was 13 and he 18. And did you know that he proposed to me on the steps of the Basilica of Sacre in the young and giddy Paris of 1937? Memories. Memories are trapped here, Miss Amrit, but you, like everyone else, choose to call them exhibits. Over there. Let us walk to that section. Gifts from world leaders and revolutionaries. See that lead crystal dome of the rock? It was from the Palestinian people. And that lacquer plate with Ho Chi Minh smiling at us, the government of Vietnam, presented it to me. And there are keys to the cities of Bogota, Port of Spain, and Washington. Have you ever held a ceremonial key in the palm of your hand, Miss Amrit? Entire cities whisper their secrets. Do you want to reveal their treasures to you? And want to tell you of terrors and thrills and things feverishly prayed for? My favorite people are here too. My father, he's sitting right there, on the grassy slope with my sons, children then. My mother is here too, her face covered by her sari palla and that sepia portrait. And that's me when I was 5, holding a British doll close to my chest. I later threw that doll into the bonfire of other British goods that we owned. And that's me again, with my grown-up sons in Paris in 1996. And those are my sons, carrying an urn with my father's ashes in Allahabad. We are all alive, Miss Amrit. We exhibits are alive. Why not wait until dusk to interview us all with your smartphone? When the evening gathers around Latin's Delhi and the crowd retreats from my residence and fades into its many ordinary lives. And when the Raat Ki Rani maddens the cicadas with its perfume and makes them moan, that is when we emerge. Dead fathers and mothers and sons. At the hour of the bat, we stir. At the hour of the eel, we step out of our glass displays, these displays that trap us. And at the hour of the ghost, we become family once again, untouched by assassination, innocent of murder. And our clothes are no longer blood-stained or bullet-riddled or torn to shreds in a bomb blast. Our clothes are new and whole, like this orange sari I am wearing now. I am alive, Miss Amrit.
Madam late Prime Minister, sorry to interrupt you, but we've reached the garden path. It is covered in crystal and is meant to look like a flowing river. This glass slab here, with a quote by you on it, has been placed on the spot where you fell. How do you feel about this shimmering memorial? Is it a fitting tribute to you, to your spirit?
Miss Amrit, let me respond to that question with another question. Do you really believe that a slab of glass is suitable homage to my spirit? even if it is engraved with my writings. You make me laugh, Miss Amrit, and not because I'm amused. Look around you, Miss Amrit. Look at my sorrowless Ashoka. Observe my elephant palms that are most vulgar in their health and beauty. Feel the texture of my kadam trees that ooze sapwood, and smell the soft musk of my bale trees swollen with fruit and shrouded in beehives. My garden thrives. Even though it witnessed my murder, Miss Amrit, it flowers and bears fruit as it is meant to with the change of the seasons. My garden is unaltered by tragedy, Miss Amrit. And it is these trees that are the fitting homage you have mentioned. The rest is just merely for the amusement of the busloads of tourists who arrive here. And this banyan. We have finally reached the old banyan. This banyan is where I have waited all these years to be interviewed. Come then, Miss Amrit. Let us sit under its grand shade, or would you rather sit on a branch? I could lift you up to the topmost branch, my favorite perch, and from there we could speak of many things. My past difficulties as Prime Minister of this country, and present difficulties as overseer of this republic of langurs, reptiles, and winged creatures. Nothing much has changed, really.